Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the very first Eagle Q&A. This is a special session during the new student orientation for the spring. We had so many questions that came through the chat and through the live microphones that we decided, well, we want to better answer your questions and make sure that you have all the tools that you need to be successful here at CTC. So we decided to have this virtual Q&A session, and we've pulled in some of our experts to help answer those questions that you might have. Starting, Mariceli Vargas is our Student Life Director. And right above her on my screen is Julie Starkey, and she will handle some student services. Next to her is Eva Hutchins, who is our admissions and registration and advising guru. Right below her is Pearl Creviston, our financial aid expert. Below her is Morgan Powell, who will help with the academic studio and tutoring. And plus, she's just a wealth of knowledge overall anyway. And then on Pearl's right is Angela Reese, a professor in our business administration department, who is our Blackboard expert. So if there's questions about Blackboard, class delivery, and those kind of things, we'll be glad to answer those. So anyway, let's get the party started with Pearl, because everybody likes to talk about money. So we're going to open the floor up to questions about financial aid. But first, Pearl's going to give us just a little brief kind of summary of where we are right now with deadlines and so forth and everything else with financial aid. Thank you, Pearl.
Good morning, everybody. Glad you could join us. I just wanted to start off by saying we are in the middle of 2 processing years right now, and it's creating a lot of confusion for students. So keep in mind that right now we are in what is called the 21-22 academic school year. It will end this summer. At the end of the summer, your new FAFSA for 22-23 will start for fall of this upcoming fall term. So what we're running into right now are a whole lot of students that are trying to go to spring or summer school, and they've done the FAFSA for 22-23. They call us and say, I'm all done, everything's ready to go. How can you help me? Well, we can't help you with that one yet because it doesn't start until the fall semester. So if, for instance, you're trying to take classes in March or you're wanting to take classes this summer, you need to make sure you go back and do that FAFSA for 21-22. We also spend a whole lot of our time right now out in the community at all of the local area high schools. And one of the major issues that we are running into with students and parents is they have not obtained a student ID, user ID, account access code, whatever you want to refer to it as, before they come to a FAFSA session. So what happens is they come out there to do that and they try to set up their user ID and have to receive an email with the actual confirmation, and it delays the process of being able to actually complete the FAFSA. So that's not something we've addressed in the past as seriously as we need to start doing from now on. So I want you all to understand there is a website you can go to, and you actually can obtain the FAFSA user ID prior to completing your FAFSA application instead of trying to do it at the same time. And that is actually studentaid.gov/FSAID. And that will get you straight to the page that you need to be on in order to create an account with the FSA. Something you need to clearly understand: if you are under the age of 24 and you are a dependent student with your parents, you're going to need your parent to do the exact same thing. So your parent needs to create their very own user ID, and the student needs to create their very own user ID. You cannot share one, and you cannot use different emails. You have to have one assigned specifically for you and one assigned specifically for a parent. So this is probably the single biggest obstacle that we're finding that students are facing when they're going in. It used to be called a PIN number. It used to be called your signature, but now they're calling it the FSA user ID. And it has got to be established. Once you've done that, you will use that same one for life. You don't need to make changes on it. You'll always want to know what it is. So you want to make sure that you either use a cell phone number or you use a email address that you're going to always use and have and remember. I recommend you always write it down, because this is not something you use all the time. You're going to do it once a year, and you're going to do it over the entire length of time that you're in college. So even if you are no longer a dependent student and you are independent on your own, your user ID and password don't change. So again, that's one of the things that we are encountering quite often that students don't understand. A lot of times a parent will go in and create one for a student and the student has no idea what it is. So as they go on in their education, they don't have any idea and mom and dad may have forgotten by then. So I always recommend each of you set up your very own and make sure you do that, especially if you're one of these students right now in early college, high school, and you're trying to do FAFSA applications for colleges. If you're currently a high school student trying to get started at CTC in the fall, then you need to make sure you go ahead and get that set up. There's no timeline, there's no deadline, there's no mandatory requirement that you start a FAFSA right away. You just need to make sure you get your user ID set up. So that's just something we really haven't covered a whole lot of that I really want to emphasize as a major obstacle. One of the other things that I really wanted to bring up is current students right now. Our number one question is always, when am I going to get my balance check? Every phone in the office across campus is ringing off the hook going, when and how am I going to get my balance check? Well, believe it or not, the financial aid office doesn't do that part of your processing. It is a business office process. So in order to get specific information, you do need to contact the business office on CTC's main campus, and they would be able to assist you with identifying when you would receive your balances. Balances go out at all different times because classes start at all different times. But a general rule of thumb to keep in mind anytime you're receiving financial aid is your balance will go out approximately 30 days from the start of your first classes. So if you have financial aid of any kind, whether it be a state grant, a scholarship, a emergency grant, or any type of aid at all, it will always go out about 30 days after classes start. So what they do is we transmit your funds over to the business office 10 days prior to the start of classes. They allow you to charge books, they pay tuition and all of that. And then once they're past what we refer to as a census date, which is the last day to drop or add classes for that course, then they can start processing balances. So those are some of the things that we really haven't gone into a lot of detail about in the past or on any of our other chats or WebExes that I really wanted to point out for today. So I am going to ask, are there any questions or anything coming in on the chat that I need to address?
Maricela says there are none on
Okay.
Facebook. As far as the chat goes, when you fill out that FAFSA ID, now you go to those high school nights and stuff. That's not a commitment to CTC by doing that, is that?
Not at all. It is simply getting established with the Department of Education. And that simply says, this is me and I plan to do a FAFSA someday.
Okay.
And then you will do that FAFSA whenever you're ready, preferably fairly soon because you wouldn't necessarily be using a user ID or getting set up until you're ready. But just know that that's how you're going to sign your FAFSA. That's how you're going to access your accounts. That's how you're going to look at your financial information in the future. That is your key to get into the Department of Education website. So it's an extremely important tool that you'll want to keep, write down, and use the entire time you're a student.
Okay. Um, I'm looking at starting this summer. How soon should I take care of the financial aid or FAFSA paperwork?
That should have already been done last October for the summer. However, you've got time, so you can go ahead and do that FAFSA. I recommend you do it today. So go ahead and get your user ID, get set up, and then complete that FAFSA. And remember, for the summer, it's the 21-22. When you go in and open the FAFSA application right now, by default, it opens up to the 22-23. So you have to drill in at the bottom and change it to the 21-22.
All right. Another question was ARP grant money. Will that be available in the summer, or or possibly the fall, or is with the spring 2 semester coming up, will I be able to use it then?
The answer right now is no, because we don't anticipate having additional funding at that time. However, it is subject to change, and if so, we would put that on our website to allow students the opportunity to apply at that time, should funds still be available.
Okay, but for the spring 2 classes, we can still get art money?
Absolutely. And keep in mind, for those of you that have not applied, if you are in from 3 to 11 credit hours, you can get $1,000. If you're in 12 or more credit hours, you can receive $2,000. So that's a substantial amount of funding. And it really is intended to help you live and support yourself right now while you're a student. And that is in addition to any other type of aid that you may have already received. So some people have made the assumption, no, I already got Pell Grant, or I already borrowed student loans, or I got grant money, I can't get that. Yes, you can. So please, everybody apply for that if you are registered in classes right now for spring and have not already done so.
Right, great. So yes, for art money for spring 2, but not so much yet for summer or fall coming up.
Correct.
So, all right, and that may change, as you said.
And I did see a question about using art money at the bookstore. Yes, you can. On the bookstore website, they gave specific directions on how students can do so, but the only thing you really need to know when you're using ARP money, the emergency grant money at the bookstore, you have to let them know that's the aid you're wanting to use. Typically, the bookstore is only able to award for Title IV, which is your Pell Grant and student loans, and they're looking for that. So if you didn't get that, but you have ARP, they don't know that. You have to tell them. So when you go to the bookstore and you call them or you email them or you order, you need to specify that you do want to use your ARP money. And you also had to have given permission on that application that will allow them to use those funds for charges. So for tuition or books. So you have to give permission. If you didn't, and you've changed your mind now and you decided, oh no, I didn't realize I could use it that way, you can email the business office. The business office will then override your decision on the application and allow you to use that for charges. Great question.
Another question, can I retroactively apply for art money back to last fall?
Not at this time. We had that option open until about a week ago. We just closed out the fall term to focus on awarding for spring with the remaining funds. Again, if anything changes, we will go back and post that on the website.
Yeah. So always check the CTC website. It is a wealth of information. We will keep you updated either through the news and events or specifically on the financial aid webpage. So we will keep you posted on any changes or updates that may occur. All right. Any last thoughts of wisdom, Pearl, or pearls of wisdom, Pearl?
Pearls of wisdom, I can't come up with anything else at this point other than do well, don't drop your classes, don't change your degree plan in the middle of the semester. I could go on and on and on, but then I'll be stepping on Miss Eva's toes when she gets ready to talk to you about degree plans and so forth. But I'm your mom here when it comes to your financial aid, and you want to make sure that you come see me before you do silly things like drop classes or fail classes or do anything like that, especially when you're a financial aid student. So have a great rest of your term. Thank you.
Great. Well, hang loose, Pearl, just in case some other questions come up.
Will.
We certainly appreciate it. I'm going to go back to the start of the chat. There was a question and regarding Biosig. Where do I go if I have trouble with Biosig? Is that a Dr. Reese question?
I believe so.
Right.
So first off, I want to make sure that everybody understands that we have Biosig and we also have Biosite. So starting in October of 21, we also have an option to use a proctor-like service, if you will. What Biosig does, and if we have time, I can definitely show this. But in each of your Blackboard courses, in the upper left-hand corner, you will find a Start Here menu. Just below the Start Here menu, you will see the Biosig enrollment menu. Once you click on that, it will explain to you what Biosig is, which is a 4-digit passcode that identifies who you are, and then you use it in all of your classes. So as you log in each time to a brand new course, it might ask you to verify who you are through your Biosite ID. Again, it's a 4-digit passcode that you will use for every course that you take with CTC. So for example, my passcode is very simple. You can use the exact same one I use, 3 lowercase L's and a capital L. And, but what it does is it tracks how you individually put in that passcode. So whether you're using a mouse or you're using a stylus or you're using the screen, and it verifies who you are in each course. Now, not to fear, if something happens and you get a new computer and it doesn't recognize the way that you're drawing your 3, if you use mine, the 3 lowercase L's and 1 capital L, there's the ability to reset that password. But as I said, you don't have to. It's something that stays with you with every course that you take. So why do we use it? Well, basically what Biosite does is it enables us to authenticate that you are the user, the student in the course. So we have that. Now we also have Biosite ID, which when I told you, you go into the Blackboard menu for Biosite enrollment, it will also give you an overview of what Biosite is. So what Biosite does is when you're taking an exam, a quiz, an assessment, and each instructor will have it set up a little bit different. So for example, in my classes, I have it connected to all of the exams. And typically there's 4 exams. So when you go to take it, it's going to ask for your Biosite ID, the 4-digit passcode, and then it's going to ask you to enable your webcam. What students sometimes worry about is that it is going to record their surroundings. It is a blurred image of yourself, and basically it asks you to get into a frame. So it has like a big head with ears and a chest, and you get into the frame of the camera and you're able to move quite a bit. What it's doing is just making sure that you, the individual, are there. Only one person is there, and there's not multiple people in the room as well, but it blurs everything. And so basically you stay and you can move quite a bit within the frame that it enables you to stay within. And again, everything is blurred while you were taking that exam. So some instructors might also put it on their quizzes. Again, each instructor will do that differently. Some students have said since October, I've had about 2 or 3 that have said, well, I don't have a webcam on my computer. Do I need to go buy a new one? You do not need to go buy a new computer for this. It is something that your handy dandy smartphone that you'll be able to reach out to the help desk. And you think, well, how do I get a hold of the help desk? That same link that I told you about that's in the upper left-hand corner of Blackboard, there's also going to be a link for the help desk, and you just click on it and create a ticket and just let them know that that you don't have a webcam on your computer and that you'll need to use your phone, and they will show you how to go through that process. I have not had any students contact me back saying that it didn't work. And one student did tell me it was quick and easy to establish, and then they were able to take their exam.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other questions that you normally come across about Blackboard? Is there 1 or 2 predominant questions that just keep coming up over and over that will help students?
Yes, actually, and one of them does connect to financial aid. So one question that I get often is, well, I'm in a self-paced course. Which if you didn't know that we have self-paced courses, when you go to search for classes, you will see on the schedule that some will be listed as just online and some will say online self-paced. What that means is that there's a start and an end date for the course. We have suggested due dates throughout the entire course, and we ask that you try to stay with those. Don't wait until the end of the course to try to get everything completed. If you miss a deadline, it's not that big of a deal because it's up to you to get everything in on time. However, here's where that caveat is. You have to do 1 graded activity in the first week of the course. In your syllabus, which is your roadmap to being successful, in your syllabus, page 2, it will tell you what assignment or assignments that you need to have completed that first week. So when Ms. Crevison was saying that that census date, if you haven't done that assignment by that census date, the instructor has to drop you per Ctc policy from the course. So if you've logged in That doesn't mean that you're active. You have to log in and participate in a graded activity. Again, your instructor will tell you what that is. And some students have emailed me saying, well, I'm having an issue getting into Blackboard. So if there's any type of issue that's preventing you from getting started, reach out to us, send us an email, talk to your student success and persistence team, call somebody at the college. We will get you in contact with those that can help you get into Blackboard.
Right, that's a great tip because a lot of times people will tend to, think online class or taking a class through the computer that they can wait a little while before they actually get into those activities. But that graded activity during that first week is very important to keep you in the class. So that's a good
Yes, sir.
point. Thank you. Another question that came up, and I'm not sure who the expert on this one is, how do I get Microsoft 365 for students for free since I am a CTC student? I'll leave that for.
I gave a link underneath that if you want to share that in the Facebook comments, because there's a link on the CTC IT page for.
Okay, there it is. Great. Okay, so that's where the student needs to go. Use that link, and that'll solve that. Okay, I have one other question, and let me scroll back up. And Eva, I believe this one is for you. Does it matter if I already enrolled in a spring course but not spring 2 courses, like courses that started in January but didn't apply?
For the ARP?
Yeah.
Actually for both. And I mean, I know the answer, but Pearl could confirm. So I get that question a lot in the advising office, which is what I'm over. And so a lot of students, I know y'all are going to be shocked. Some of our students wait till the last minute to do things. So they were registering for January classes, but didn't have their financial aid on file, and it came in after. Same for ARP, same for financial aid. It's retroactive. So if you're just now doing it, maybe it took a minute for your parent to get their financial aid ID number and you got everything submitted for the 21-22 year, you can still get that submitted. If you get awarded, it will count your spring classes towards your eligibility. Am I correct, Pearl?
Yes, and actually it's a great tool right now for those of you that are applying late for spring for FAFSA. All you have to do in the meantime is complete the ARP once you've registered for courses and say that you want to use that to pay for your tuition. That will hold you in those classes and allow you to receive funding for the classes that you're in right now while your FAFSA is being processed. So as long as we have that emergency aid right now, that is a terrific way, especially for students that are applying late for FAFSA for spring, to be able to get in classes and get started right now. Once your file for FAFSA is completed, you'll still receive any eligibility you were eligible for, even if ARP paid for your classes.
Right. And another comment that just came in, I'm not sure if this is the question, it says your school email address, you need to provide your personal CTC student email. So I'm not sure what that means.
Okay, I put that one in. When you're
Thank you,
doing
Morgan.
the Go 365 free Microsoft Word,
Oh, I see.
Excel, everything, when it asks for your school email address, it's not asking for CTC's personal email address. It's asking for your personal one that is your Eagle Mail that's given to you.
Okay, great. I didn't see the rest of the question until now. Okay, right. All right. Thank you.
And,
All right, awesome.
and because it's asking for your school email address, it might be a good time to bring up a change in our email policy.
Go for it.
So I know there's a lot of people who know about this on the panel. So if y'all hear something wrong, let me know. But per CTC policy as of last year, you will receive your school student ID once census date has hit for your very first CTC course. Census date, we've said that, you might have picked up, it's quite an important thing to know. Census date varies based on the class that you're in. It is not a set date. It's not a set date in our semester at all, because we have census date is a percentage of the length of the course. And the length of the course could vary. We have 8, 10, 12, 16, all the times. So your course census date could be different based on what you've registered for. So if you were in an 8-week class, it is usually the Tuesday after it starts. So like the full 8 days into your class. That's just in general for an 8-week class. So you will not be submitted to get a student email account until that date has passed. it'll probably be at least 2 to 3 days after that before you actually have an activated student email account in which to use for things like Microsoft Office 365. So just FYI.
And that Eagle Mail address is very important as well, because that is how your professors are going to reach out to you. If there's a change in a class schedule, for example, if a teacher needs to cancel class or reassign something or provide you some additional information, they're going to communicate with you through Eagle Mail. And that's how my department, the marketing department, reaches you. We send out student emails constantly to remind students about events coming up, about policy changes, about things that you need to know about, deadlines and financial aid, scholarship opportunities, or whatever the case may be. And that is coming through your Eagle Mail. So make sure when that Eagle Mail hits that you check that. And also, if you don't want to check multiple emails, if you have your own account, let's say whatever at gmail.com, you can sync your Eagle Mail to your Gmail or your Yahoo or whatever, so you're only answering one email account. You don't have to go scrolling through multiple email accounts to get your mail. So make sure that you do what's best for you is linking that Eagle Mail up, but make sure that you check that Eagle Mail on the regular, because again, that is how CTC will keep in touch with you. Okay.
Just remember, if it's your first class and it's if it's a 16-week class, that email account, like if your professor needed to email you, it wouldn't be an Eagle Mail. You don't have it yet if census date hasn't occurred. So your professors are going to communicate with the email that you applied with. It's very important, the email you applied with. So would CTC. Until your email account switches to your student email account, all communication from CTC will be with your personal email that you applied with. Once you hit census date of your first class, it will then change to your student email.
Yeah,
so
your Eagle Mail.
Got to remember that switch and the timing of that with your first class.
Good deal.
But you will be communicated with. It's through email.
They will reach out, so it's up to you to get that. So okay, so Eva, since you're sharing some information, kind of share a couple of questions that you commonly get now that Spring 2 registration is knee deep into it, and the Spring 2 classes start right after spring break on March 21st. What are some of the things that students are asking you primarily?
One of the biggest questions I get is it too late? Can I still apply? And so the answer to that is that CTC has open enrollment. We allow you to apply throughout our entire school year. So you can apply anytime. It usually takes about 24 to 48 business hours, so it doesn't count weekends when we're closed, for your application to come into our system and be processed. You should receive emails again at the one that you used to apply with about the status of that application. Once you're in the system, it depends. Everybody's situation is different. So it depends if anything additional after your application is reviewed is needed by the admissions office. They're going to reach out to you through email as well, and let you know, hey, we need XYZ. Once they have cleared your application, you'll be able to register for classes. So in a normal situation, everything being fairly easy, not needing additional information, it could be that you apply, let's see, today's Wednesday, you could be registering by Friday, potentially. So we can get things going fairly quickly because of that time frame. And so it's definitely not too late to register for the March 21st start date. Please keep in mind that start date for the second 8 weeks of the spring semester is the first Monday that CTC returns after the spring break. Central Campus is closed the week of
14th through the 18th.
March 14th through the 18th, yes. So the 21st is that next day we're back in the office. Now we do have late registration if something should go wrong and we didn't get you enrolled before the Monday, but everybody would prefer that registration happens before then. So make sure you keep that in mind if you're working with advising that we're going to be out that week for spring break. So kind of bumping up your timeline a little bit would be great. So for spring classes, and then the other thing to caveat off of what Pearl said, a lot of the questions that we get is about the degree plan. We try to always answer that question in light of who you are as a student. It's not ever just a generalized answer. It's about who you are as a student, what kind of funding you're using, how far you progressed, where you're at, all of those things, your future plans, if you're transferring or not. So we're If you just send us an email to change your degree plan, we may respond back with some additional questions for you. One of those being, if you're using financial aid, that we might be advising, might not be the best idea to do that in February or March, if you're already unregistered for classes. If you're not enrolled yet and haven't used financial aid for the term, that's fine. But if you're already enrolled, we don't want to affect and have funds pulled back for what you're already in. And financial aid is predicated on, your eligibility is predicated on if you're taking classes that are required for your degree plan. Pearl didn't get into that specifically, but I always do it. It's definitely an advising focus to keep you on track for not only the purposes of your funding, but completion, all of that. We don't want you to go off track and take classes that you don't need. So if you're taking classes that are not required within your specified degree plan, then financial aid isn't going to cover it. So you have to be super careful about that. And then also you have to take classes for financial aid within a certain time frame. And that time frame is listed on all of our registration pages. And simply put, financial aid says we'll pay for classes, but the start date and the end date has to occur in the same semester. So if you start in spring, you have to end in spring. So we had January to May, and I believe it's May 13th. I could be wrong. And if your class ends after, for example, we have classes in April that start in April that end in June. Those would not be eligible for financial aid funding. They might be eligible for other funding, but not financial aid. So we always ask that question when you're talking about changing your degree plan and all of that, because it could affect you, and we don't want it to be negative, and we don't want you to have to owe back CTC for anything that already occurred. Definitely keep that in mind. And then just a reminder about the ARP. I know we've hit that several times, but Pearl mentioned it. It's a great way if you don't have other funding, if you need it to be used. If you don't, if you already have funding, maybe you're military and you have TA, or you already have your financial aid, but you're taking classes that have started and you haven't applied for the ARP, it is there for you as well. There's 2 eligibility questions for that funding. Are you enrolled in CTC classes, minimum of 3 credits? Were you financially impacted by the pandemic? If both of those answers are yes, you submit that short application, then that funding, that's, as long as it's available, is going to be submitted to you based on what you're enrolled in. There's no documentation other than the application required. So it's super easy. If that's something you're not sure about, and we haven't mentioned where you go to do that. So where you go to do that is called eForms, and that is easily accessible under the Student Tools menu on our main page. And you hover over that one and go down to Student Forms-eForms. And you can log in there with your information and fill out in the search bar, just type in ARP or start typing American, and that application is going to pop right up.
And we did have a question that I think Pearl answered. Will CARES Act funds be released today? And Pearl responded that for that student to contact the business office to verify when the CARES funding will be released. So,
and that person may have just joined us. We do not have, we can't answer that question from a standpoint of a point in time. It's based on your classes and when the census date for your classes were. So that answer is different for every single student.
okay, and then we had another class question here. Over spring break, if I'm in an online class, do I have to log in?
Dr. Reese?
I was clicking mute and unmute so quickly, it wouldn't stay on. So regarding your online class, I hate to say this, but it really depends. It depends on the class, it depends on the instructor, it depends on the type of class that you're in, if it's self-paced or if it's not. So the best thing to do would be to go to syllabus page 2. On syllabus page 2, it's going to tell you the delivery mode, meaning do you have specific due dates? And then just below that, it's going to show you the either the suggested due dates or the actual due dates. On that schedule of assignments is where you will be able to see if something is required to be complete during the 14th through the 18th.
Great. And speaking of online and class deliveries, Eva, with Spring 2 classes coming up, how does Spring 2 classes look? Are we face-to-face? Are we online, blended, 8-week, 16-week? What are we looking at here?
Yes. So the 8-week start date, Spring 2, March to May, is going to be primarily 8-week online, but you will see some, depending on the class that you want, you will see online or online blended, classroom or classroom and online blended. So you can see all 3 different types in the Spring 2 semester. It does depend on the department that's offering the class, like one department, history, may have classroom and online, but business may only have online, or, that's not true. Those are just examples.
Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. So when you're searching for classes in the registration area and student planning, this may not be my number 1 asked question, but this is my most number 1 tip. Filters are your friends. Please use search filters. So on student planning, you always get the option to filter. You have the option to filter by so many different things. You can filter by the instructor, the start date, the class mode, the term, all of that. But at minimum, put down your location filter and your term filter. So if you're looking at spring, make sure, because right now we do have summer. We're about to start registration for summer, and so you can see that it's coming. Well, to filter out summer start dates, just hone in on spring. And then location. So there's the location types. I can definitely let me go look at those real quick. I don't want to share my screen because I don't want to mess with the whole thing. But when you're filtering, distance learning means that it's a true 100% online class. So if you know you can't come to campus, then you want to filter by distance learning. I mentioned there's the classroom online blended, so it's a hybrid course. Those you would find under the central campus, Fort Hood, or service area option where you're at. So it would not be under the distance learning. It would be under whatever campus you're at that you're wanting to search by. So just filters are your friends. If you don't ask me that question, I'm still going to tell you. How do I register? How do I look? Filters, use your filters. I saw something about graduation, if you don't mind if I address that.
Please.
So get back to where that was. I'll make sure I get it right. Is there any info to order cap and gown for graduation? We will be posting information about our ceremony, where to go to get your cap and gown, all of that coming up in the next couple of months. Probably won't be till after spring break. Students who've applied for graduation have potentially already received a letter letting them know that to return back a form if you're interested in it going to the ceremony. You can go to the bookstore anytime. That's where we send students to purchase the cap and gown, is through the Ctc Bookstore. So you can go to them now if you know you're going to, but that information will be officially put out after the spring break timeframe.
Yeah, but what did you mean by you got to apply for graduation? If I'm done with my courses, wouldn't that just be automatic?
Oh, great question, Pearl. No, so we sent you to eTrieve for the money. We're going to send you to eTrieve to apply. So if you're nearing the end of your degree, you apply for graduation for your degree to be conferred to your record through an eTrieve form. And so that is actually just saying, I want my degree conferred to my record. The ceremony is optional. The ceremony is not required. But if you want it conferred to your record, we do need that application. So if you fill that out, you'll always get something back from the graduation office asking and giving you information about the ceremony, as that part is optional. But yes, to have your degree conferred, meaning it shows up on your transcript, you get your diploma in the mail, all of that. By the way, you get your diploma in the mail, not the ceremony. Then you do have to fill that out. And I'm going to that form,
While she's looking at that, let me just remind you, as Eva said, regardless if you plan to participate in the ceremony or not, you must submit the application for graduation. And for the spring semester ceremony, the graduation deadline has passed. It was February 1st. So if you have not done so, please contact the graduation office at 254-526-1592 and and talk to them and see if they can't squeeze you in, work you out, work you in, or whatever it needs to be done to get you applied for the graduation. So,
And the name of the form is actually the graduation application for degree/certificate. So it's a little bit longer, but you can always do keyword searches. So if you do search graduation, you will find it.
right.
Application, there's a lot of different ones that might be application, but graduation's a good keyword there.
Good to know. Good to know. All right, I'm going to go back to the chat just a little bit, and I know some of these questions have already been answered in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead just in case so everybody can hear them. There's a question came through on Facebook. Is everyone eligible for some sort of financial aid? And I believe, Pearl, you responded the financial aid eligibility is determined by the FAFSA application process and the results of that process. So the bottom line is fill out that FAFSA to find out if you qualify for financial aid. Other types of aid depends upon the actual aid being offered and what criteria is required to award that aid. All right, and ARP funding is open to any student and will be awarded based on your application and the number of hours you are in. Okay, so that hopefully will clear up the that question. And going back to Eva and Angela, Dr. Reese, how can I tell if the course is SVL? And I believe Eva said filters are our friends. So if you guys could expand upon that just a little bit.
When you're looking at the central campus classes, those are going to be where the SVL classes live. And when you see them, you're going to see under the description of the course, you're going to see the delivery mode. And it's going to say if it's online blended, SVL. So an SVL class is a synchronous virtual learning is the fancy name for that. And that means that the class has a time commitment, but from home. So you're not coming to Central Campus to come to a physical class on our campus, but you did sign up for a class that's like this with a camera, a link, you're logging in to your instructor there at a certain day and time based on whatever the schedule is.
So if you sign up for a Monday, Wednesday history class at 9 a.m., you will log into your phone, your laptop, or wherever you are, whatever device, at Monday, Wednesday at 9 a.m. and be in that class live and get the lecture, be able to talk to the instructor, get notes through the chat or through the microphone, just like you were sitting in class. And as I said, it is that designated time frame. So if you've got a Monday, Wednesday, 9 a.m. class, that SVL means you log in for Monday, Wednesday at 9 a.m. and be in that classroom. Okay?
If
It's not
you
like an
don't want a
online component
commitment
where
to
you
it,
do things on your own.
yeah, if you don't want a commitment to a time, you need to change that filter over to distance learning so that you're not committing to a date and a time to log in. And they like you to turn on your camera.
Yes.
They want to see you.
Hey, and
I
can I
know,
just
I
say one
appreciate
other thing about SVL? If you are contemplating taking a math class specifically, obviously it's really good if you can be face-to-face, but if not, SVL is a great option because you really need the practice. You need to work with them. And that is probably one of your best ways to take a math class. So I'm just
Yeah,
giving you.
And she's right. And the thing about SVL, it allows it interactivity. So you can communicate with your instructor and get, if you're stuck in a math problem and you're not sure you quite understand, ask right there live and get the answer right there in real time. So that's one of the pluses that, as Ms. Starkey said about the SVL courses. So just that's one thing to consider. Another filter type question, Eva, how can I tell if the course is self-paced or regular online with due dates?
Oh, so if you filtered by the online or distance learning instead of central campus, that same spot where it would have said SVL or lecture, it's going to say something else. It'll say online blended, or it'll say, that's not a filtered right. Hold on. I always have to read it, you guys. Okay, so it's going to say online. It might say S-paced, which means self-paced, or it'll say online lecture. So Dr. Reese went over a self-paced class. It's not for you to get behind, guys. It's for you to do the work by the end of the class, but at your own pace. I always say it's best to work ahead and then work behind. So it's my little thing.
That's a great tip.
Between that and an online lecture is going to give you the material by the due date. So every week you're going to have, this is what we need this week. So it's going to be very structured, very formatted by the instructor of that class. I think I said that right. If there's anything to add, Dr. Reese, please jump in. I'm by no means the expert on that. But that's the two types you're going to see in the filter for distance learning is online self-paced or S-paced. or online lecture.
And those are
Online
great
lecture,
for,
it's still 100% online, but it means you have weekly assignments.
those are great for the different types of students, because if you're proactive, then that one class, online class is better for you. If you're someone who needs a little prodding, the one with the deadlines and the due dates might be the one for you to keep you rolling and keep you on track. So,
Very
so
much.
at least you have that option. Another question, when can I request scholarships? So you can request scholarships now. The online scholarship application is open right now until 11:59 p.m. on February 28th. And there in the chat is the website that you need to go to check out these scholarships. And somebody already beat me to it. Okay, bro. I thought for sure it would have been Morgan. But there it is. You have it twice now. So again, and you only need to submit one online application to be eligible for a number of scholarships. For anything that you qualify for, that one application will sync you up with that particular scholarship. So don't think you have to submit 5 different applications for 5 different scholarships. One application is enough that will sync you up with all that you qualify for. And those scholarships will be used in the fall 2022 and spring 2023 semesters, and they will be awarded at the end of this semester. So then you have something to look forward to. But definitely apply now. You've got until 28th of February to apply. Don't miss that deadline, okay? Because there is plenty of money out there for you. Yes, Pearl?
I want to add also, some students come to CTC with a scholarship already from another outside source, and they're never really sure what to do with that scholarship to get it applied to their account. So what you do is you contact the financial aid office, and we will get that information to the correct person that will process that for you. So always go through your financial aid office with any type of scholarship awarding. And I do recommend that as a student, if you don't qualify for a foundation scholarship, but you're, for instance, a member of a church or a community organization, start asking, do you all offer any scholarships for college? You would be surprised how many are out there. So be proactive when it comes to scholarships. Your high schools will have scholarships posted. Not everything comes directly from the college. You can bring them in from what we call the outside of our organization.
Yeah. And even on the inside of our organization, you would be surprised how many scholarships go unapplied for. So there's just money sitting there waiting for you to apply for and grab it. So take that scholarship opportunity and run with it, and supplement your tuition, your books, and along with the art grant and all that, and just you basically wind up with a free semester of school. So don't pass that opportunity up.
Free money is a lot better than loan debt. I promise you.
Amen.
We're all nodding our
Free
heads.
money you don't have to pay
Yeah,
back.
get
Loan
you
debt
get
you have to
that
pay
free
back.
money. I'll do everything I can to talk you out of a loan, but please try and get as much free money as you can.
There's nothing like graduating debt free. So
Yes,
as much as
absolutely.
possible. So go for this, shoot for that. Another question that came through, we were talking about SVL online and blended. What about industrial tech classes? So now there's a lot of, in some like nursing classes too, there's a lot of hands-on components, but especially in industrial tech. And now I understand a lot of those are self-paced or not.
Well, we call them competency-based. So it is in person, the industrial tech like welding, automotive, et cetera. Those classes are on campus. But because it's competency-based, there's a certain amount of hours you have to spend in the class, in the lab. If you hit those hours and you pass the benchmarks of the test they give you, you can move to the next course in the program. So those, you might be able to knock out 2 or 3 of those classes in the same semester by enrolling back to back. They build on each other. It's not the same as the academic courses where you take 4 of your general education. You take English, speech, history, government in the same semester. You've got to start with your intro to welding class. Then you go to your next, and et cetera. So the CADE advisors are amazing. They're down in the Career and Technical Education building, 253, don't tell me, East. I always confuse the East and the West. They're in 253 East, rooms 3 and 4, and they will go over all the details of that program with you. And their contact number is the 526-1549 if y'all want to put that in the Facebook chats. So that's a unique type of program. You can call it self-paced, but I didn't want to confuse it with the online self-paced we were just talking about. but it amounts to the same thing. But you have to show proficiency, you have to show competency to move to the next one. But you can definitely do that. You can work at your own pace. When you plan it out, you might tell the advisors, well, I think I might be able to spend, this many hours a week in the class. But it turns out your schedule changes and you were able to spend a little bit more. You might finish early. You could do that.
And also, there's been some confusion. I see multiple start dates with the industrial tech classes. Can you kind of explain the start date situation?
It is when you are ready to start.
That's
So-
what we like to hear.
That's the start date. That's why you see so many of those out there. Now, those classes, the reason why you have to go to the advisors is not just so they can help you pick out and do all the things and make sure you're on the right track, but they actually help you register, because you can't go to self-service and student planning and say, I want to sign up for intro to welding. The class isn't there because it's not a class full of 30 students. It's your class. It's built for you. And so they help you. Once you decided your hours that you're going to spend in the lab, that dictates how long the class is. That's a complicated process, sorry. They send that over to the records office, they build the class for you, and then you can register for it on your student account. So it's a process to get registered for those classes that's a little bit different than registering for government, history, speech, whatever. But that's why you might see different start dates out there at different times, but those are built specifically for you. So it's your
So in other words, I don't have to adhere to the March 21 start date for spring 2 or the typical semester start date. So depends upon when I complete the first part and I pass, and then I can immediately start the next one at my own.
And it may depend. Again, we're going to answer those questions based on you. So your funding, especially if you're V8, may give you some structure within that. They'll go over that with you specifically, because it could vary based on what chapter of VA you're using.
Also on those self-paced, you want to watch the time frame that you're starting and ending those courses, because just like all other courses, we are term driven. So if you start a class in April, but you're not going to finish it till June, we're not going to pay for it for financial aid. So you definitely want to look at your timing on your structure when you start. And I recommend to most people, try and start in January early on and get as many of those classes done before the end of our spring term, so that if you are using Title IV funds, we can help you pay for those classes. If you're going to continuously overlap those classes, you may not be able to use Title IV funding and rely on other types of funding we may be able to offer. But talk to financial aid.
We can be really strategic about that, though. So if you go to the advising office, they can help you figure out, and plan out how that's going to work, and make sure you've ended a class before the spring, and then the next time you start is qualified for summer.
Right.
So those are
One thing about talking about industrial tech advising that Eva just mentioned, or even regular academic type class advising. Talk with your advisor and let them lay out that blueprint for you. That way you don't waste time and money on classes that you don't really need, that don't really apply to your degree plan. That way you stay on track, you graduate quicker, and you don't spend that extra money unnecessarily. So let them help you kind of set out that blueprint or that guideline for you, regardless if it's industrial tech or an associate degree of some other sort of applied science or whatever it may be. So, but going back to industrial tech, one thing I see all the time is the term stackable certificates, and I know they apply to other programs as well. Can we talk about, explain to us what the stackable means?
I'll take that one.
Go for it, Dr.
So
Reese.
you have a lot in your program.
I can use a business example for that.
Boom.
So for example, if you are interested in starting your own business, or you are interested in gaining the opportunity to advance in a current business that you are already employed with, we have certificates that join together to become degrees. So for example, you want to start your own business. We have an entrepreneurship certificate that you can complete if you're full-time in 1 year. From there, all of those classes stack into an associate degree, meaning first year is basically check mark, you're finished. Now we're moving on to year number 2 to work on completing that associate degree. So they fit together kind of like stair steps Also, if you're interested in becoming a supervisor at your current place of employment, you can take 6 classes and get a certificate in supervision. And then you can take that and add it toward working on an associate degree. So again, it's just stair steps into bigger pieces and and other degrees, advanced degrees.
So in other words, if I complete a certificate degree program, I don't have to start over from ground zero if I want to now go for my associate's degree in that same area. So I can use that certificate and apply it and be that much further ahead as I go towards my associate.
That's exactly right.
Awesome.
It is so true. And then one thing as an advisor, we're always going to tell you if you're talking to us about that is you can do it. There is a time limit. So your classes in your major will expire after five years. So if you start and you put breaks in between one certificate to the next to the degree, just keep in mind that timeline. You can put a break in maybe, depending on what your plan is, and your advisor can always go over that with you. But that major, sometimes that really hits students off guard. And so I hate it when that happens. But if you are looking at our catalog, if you're looking at our policies, you will see there is a caveat. Major related classes have to be finished within 5 years of earning the degree in order to avoid repeating those classes. So if you started the entrepreneurship classes in 2015 and you're coming back now and you want to do the business management program, we would have to tell you to retake those classes because it's been 7 years.
Right.
One of the
Awesome.
other things I'd like to add, if it's okay, is what I see a lot is students come here taking a whole bunch of classes because they know they want to go get a 4-year degree. And they don't always graduate from CTC or complete a program at CTC. They just simply take a whole bunch of classes. And I can say, as a former military spouse, now retired person, we traveled a lot, and we have a lot of military here that travel a lot and have to move a lot. And I've always advised students, as long as I've been here, finish what you can finish and get that piece of paper. If you're working on a certificate type program, get that certificate. If you're working on something that would allow you to get the associates, get that associates. And people often say, well, nobody's going to do anything with an associate's degree. You'd be very, very surprised. You'd be very surprised how many people would take into consideration, you don't have a bachelor's, but you're specialized in supervision, and we're looking for a supervisor right now. So that certificate is really important. If you simply take classes, and then what happens if you get reassigned or you move or your family moves out of state and you've got to start all over somewhere? Well, do you have a degree in anything? No. I have a lot of hours. I have enough hours to have one, but I didn't graduate yet because I'm working on a bachelor's. You still don't have that piece of paper. So personal advice from someone who's been there and done that, get that piece of paper regardless of what it is. Make sure you graduate, finish it. Have something to show for all your work. Don't just take endless classes and have nothing to show for it.
And as an advisor, just if you're here at Central Campus or wherever you're at, just keep in mind the military can move you. We have so many classes online. It doesn't have to mean you have to stop or transfer to another college. Talk with your advising office. Let us know what your plans are, where you're going to be, how you're doing your classes. We'll help you come up with a plan, if at all possible, to finish with us.
Yeah.
But
And
Pearl,
to the
you're
end,
absolutely
what Pearl
right.
was saying, that your potential employer will look at your resume and see that you have that degree or certificate on there. And that is a key. If you don't list, you don't want to list a bunch of classes out there, then you want to show that you're able to complete and finish something such as your certificate degree. That goes a long way. So anyway, from the, we're going to kind of wrap things up really quickly. From a student services perspective, Julie, do you have anything, or Morgan, do you have
More
any
of a
questions that you
success.
might come up?
We're getting close to midterms, and this is the time when students find themselves in a little bit of stress at times. Please reach out to those resources, whether it be tutoring, whether it be counseling, whether it be your faculty. Now is the time. Do it now. Reach out to those resources. Get the help you need. Do not bury your head in the sand and think the problem is going to go away. Take action today.
Right. And Morgan, if I could have you type in the academic studio contact. Thank you very much. You're reading my mind. So there we go. So if anybody needs assistance as we near the midpoint here and near the end of the semester, as Ms. Starkey said, don't hesitate to ask for help.
And tutoring is online and in person, right, Julie?
Yes,
So
online,
you can get help no
in
matter where you are.
person, online, in-person
Home signal.
appointments, walk-in, you name it, we want to help you. But it's not just the academic studio. The library has a fabulous writing service. There's some online options also through the math and English areas or communication areas. We support all of those. So reach out to the resources that are there for you. And like I said, counseling is a wonderful option too. If you are stressed out and you need support, there are so many resources to assist you.
Very true. I noticed, Melissa, you've joined us. Do you have any questions before we wrap this up? Are you here? You can type it in the chat, or if you've got a mic handy, you can.
No, thank you. So far,
Okay.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. And let me wrap this up with just a couple of the things that are coming up in the future here. If you're interested in transferring to Texas A&M Central Texas after completing your time here at CTC, you can meet with the TAMUCT advisor in the library on March 1st from 9 to 11. They have several transfer days lined up in the coming weeks, but the first one will be an in-person event on March 1st in the library from 9 to 11. So again, you can meet with the transfer counselors over at Texas A&M to kind of get you situated there. We've got some great events coming up in our library. On March 2nd is International Day, which features folkloric dance and Latin American fashion show. Closer to home, this week we've got a Black History Month documentary on February 26th at the Mayburn Science Center. That's this Saturday. And then next Monday, back at the library, Black History Month, the presentation will be live or streamed. It's from a military standpoint. It features a African-American soldier talking about his 26-year military career. Let's see, author night at the library is February 24th from 6 to 8. You can meet several local authors and talk to them about becoming an author and what it took to get published and those kind of things. And also the biggie, March 9th is our spring break safety event put on by our student employee assistance program. So that'll be in the campus center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, it'll be information tables, resource tables, and a lot of activities and so forth to kind of help you keep that safety mindset as we enter spring break on March 14th. So having said all that, you can find all that information on our website, CTC website, news and information. And so we've got that. Check out our social media. And check out our YouTube page. All that information is out there, and we send you constant student emails through Eagle Mail. Don't ignore those. Look at those, open those, read those. There's important information in there for you as students that apply to your classes, apply to Ctc Policy, apply to events that you might be interested, applies to any updates, anything that could be beneficial to you. That's why we send those out. We don't send them out just to say, hi, how you doing? Even though we are interested in how you're doing, but we want to give you information on top of that. So, and give you a means to respond back to us and let us know what's going on with you. So, all right, any questions, any comments before we wrap this up?
Last minute, I just thought of it. If you are in a career and technical program, Morgan has textbook lending and childcare assistance.
Great.
So if you're in a career and technical education program, anything.
And transportation vouchers.
I was just going to say, we got a bus transfer for you as well.
Yay. Great resource.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I'm going to give Morgan a second to type that info in there. I can see the smoke coming off her keyboard through the screen there.
Yeah, she's getting it.
So anyway, but again, thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you joined us late, or if you need to review any of the information that we covered today, we will have this on our CTC YouTube page a little bit later today. It'll be transferred over there, so then you can access it at your leisure and refer to anything or that you might have missed, or rehash anything again that you did not understand. So we'll put it out there on our CTC YouTube page. So, okay. All right. So again, Eva, thank you. Ms. Starkey, thank you. Morgan, as always. Pearl, I couldn't do it without you. And Dr. Reeves, what can we say? We love you. And Mariceli, thank you again for streaming, and thank you for being here. And thank you all. And we will talk to you at the next Eagle Q&A next month. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.